Chapter 1. Before the diner, there was the quiet. The kind that settles into a man after loss has finished taking inventory, after it has counted what was taken, weighed what remains, and decided that neither apology nor explanation will be offered. Noah Bennett woke before dawn every morning, not because he wanted to, but because his body no longer trusted sleep. Grief trained his nerves to listen for absence, for the sound that didn't come, for the breath that paused a second too long. Even in dreams, he counted. The apartment was small, too small for the life he used to have. A one-bedroom that functioned like a truce between necessity and memory. A couch that doubled as a bed for Emma on nights her breathing turned rough. A kitchen table scarred with old burn marks where his wife, Lena, once forgot the kettle while laughing at something only she found funny. Noah had tried sanding the marks out once. The wood resisted. He stopped trying. He moved through mornings carefully, deliberately, like any sudden noise might fracture something fragile that still existed inside him. He checked Emma first. He always checked Emma first. Her chest rose and fell in a shallow, steady rhythm. He watched it the way sailors watch tides, alert to changes others wouldn't notice. The way a man watched the last thing he loved without reservation. Only when he was satisfied did he allow himself to breathe. Coffee, oatmeal, inhaler packed. Backpack zipped. "Dad," Emma murmured one morning, half asleep. "You're staring again." He smiled softly. "Just making sure the world's still working." She smiled back, already drifting. "You fix things. That's your job." Once, it had been. The resumes went out in careful batches at first, tailored, optimistic. Noah wrote cover letters that spoke of systems integration and energy recovery, of transition efficiency and mechanical storage. He wrote them late at night, when Emma slept and the apartment felt too loud with memory. Then the batches became smaller. Then they stopped altogether. The industry wanted flexibility, which meant availability without obligation. Short contracts, temporary assignments. The word innovative had begun to mean disposable. The diner job came later, after savings thinned, after the phrase, "we'll keep your resume on file," lost any meaning. Noah didn't hate the diner. He hated what it represented. Still, he showed up early, learned names, learned orders, learned how to disappear into usefulness, learned how to move fast without drawing attention, how to absorb sharp words without responding, how to keep his voice calm when his phone buzzed. And every morning, without fail, there was the woman in the corner booth. He didn't know her name at first, only that she wore tailored coats even when the weather didn't require them. That she drank her coffee black and untouched for the first 10 minutes, like a ritual. That she watched people instead of her phone. She watched him, not the way customers watched waiters, impatient, dismissive. The way engineers watched systems, curious, focused, appreciative. She noticed how he moved efficiently through chaos, how his voice softened when he spoke to children, how his smile, when it appeared, carried weight, as if it had been earned rather than given. Somewhere between refills and early mornings, she liked him. The day the phone vibrated, the diner was already full. Noah froze mid-pour, the coffee hovering just shy of a chipped white mug, steam curled upward, fogging his glasses. The vibration wasn't loud, but it was insistent, sharp enough to cut through noise. He tried to ignore it. The breakfast rush had its own laws, and mercy wasn't one of them. Orders stacked up like dominoes waiting to fall. Bacon hissed on the griddle. A toddler cried in the corner booth. His manager's eyes followed him with predatory patience. Noah poured the coffee and forced his shoulders to loosen. He counted his breaths, the way he'd been taught to do years ago in a hospital room that smelled of disinfectant and fear. In, out. The phone vibrated again. He didn't need to look. He felt it in his chest first, a tightening that made the diner feel suddenly too small. "Order up," someone shouted. Noah slid the pot onto the warmer and wiped his hands on his apron. He stepped into the narrow hallway by the restrooms, the walls close enough to touch on both sides. He pulled the phone free. "Dad, I can't breathe." This was the third time in a month. Noah closed his eyes, pressing his forehead briefly against cool tile. Emma's asthma never respected schedules or apologies. It arrived like a storm, sudden, violent, indifferent to whatever life demanded of him at that moment. He untied his apron with fingers that trembled despite years of practice. He didn't wait for his manager to finish storming down the hallway. "If you walk out again," the man shouted. Noah was already moving. "Don't come back." He didn't argue. He ran. From her usual booth by the window, Claire Whitmore watched the scene unfold. She saw the tremor before the movement, the decision before defiance. When he untied his apron, something tightened behind her ribs. She didn't see irresponsibility. She saw a man choosing survival over compliance. Noah returned hours later, exhausted and hollow. The diner had lost its edge of urgency. Lunch crowds hadn't arrived. Sunlight slanted differently through the windows. His apron lay folded on the counter. His final paycheck rested on top of it. No explanation. No acknowledgement. He stared at the paper longer than necessary, then folded it once, carefully, like it might cut him if he wasn't gentle. Claire folded her newspaper slowly. She watched his jaw set, not in anger, but in resignation, the kind that came from too many losses stacked too close together. She wanted to speak. She didn't. Not yet. Chapter 2. After Hours. The badge Noah wore felt foreign, a marked departure from the grease-stained menus and cracked coffee cups of the diner. But it carried a quiet dignity. W.H. Whitmore, Automotive Systems, Facilities, Night Shift. It smelled of disinfectant and lemon cleaner instead of bacon and burnt coffee. But it meant rent paid and medication ordered on time. It meant Emma could breathe. He moved like a ghost through the glass and steel colossus. Empty corridors, homing servers, darkened labs. The building had its own heartbeat, the distant thrum of HVAC units, the ticking cool of settling metal, elevator cables sighing somewhere in the spine of the structure. On whiteboards he passed, half-wiped equations hung like unfinished thoughts. Free body diagrams, phase plots, recovery curves. Sometimes he paused, reading the numbers the way other people read headlines. That was when she first really saw. Claire Whitmore was a creature of glass and deadlines, her office a high bright box overlooking the city. On most nights she stayed until the building was nearly empty, chasing numbers that never quite added up to enough. Her people called her precise. Investors called her brilliant. The board, behind closed doors, sometimes called her cold. She preferred necessary. It was near midnight when she stepped out of the elevator and saw him standing in front of a transparent board, mop forgotten, brow furrowed at a half-erased algorithm. He didn't notice her at first. His lips moved silently as he traced a line of symbols, then frowned, shook his head, and mouthed, "No, that bleeds it off." "You noticed something," Claire said. He startled, hand yanking off the glass. The mop handle clattered softly against his lips moved silently, as he traced a line of symbols, then frowned, shook his head, and mouthed, "No, that bleeds it off." "You noticed something?" Claire said. He startled, hand jerking off the glass. The mop handle clattered softly against the floor. "Sorry," he said quickly. "I shouldn't. I was just finishing a sentence," she said, stepping closer to the board. "What's on with it?" He glanced at her badge, then at the equations, then at the mop, like he'd forgotten which world he belonged to. "The recovery algorithm," he said finally. "You're treating the transitions as linear under high load. You'll lose energy in every spike. It'll pass safety, but it won't do what you think it will. It won't fail. It'll just underperform, quietly." Her gaze sharpened. "Show me." He hesitated. I clean." "Tonight," she said, "you explain the problem. Tomorrow, if you're wrong, you go back to mops. If you're right, we'll talk." He looked at her for a long second, weighing risk against a familiar, aching hunger to matter again. Then he set the mop against the wall. "Okay," he said. "You're bleeding energy in the wrong phase window. Watch." They ended up in a small glass-walled conference room, city lights smeared across the windows. Noah stood at the whiteboard in his janitor's polo, drawing arcs and torque curves, annotating transitions as if he'd never stopped doing this. Claire watched, arms folded, saying little. Her questions, when they came, were precise. "Where would you reintroduce control? What happens if ambient temperature drops 10 degrees? How would you sell this change to a safety officer?" He answered each one, sometimes, stopping halfway, correcting himself, then laughing once, quietly, when an old habit resurfaced. "Sorry," he murmured. "I haven't done this in a while." "It doesn't look that way," Claire said. He finished, circled one section. "Here, you're assuming linearity across the transition, but under load, that's fiction. It should look like this." He erased the section and redrew the curve, building in a subtle, sliding delay. "Nonlinear delay built into the transition logic," she said quietly. "You trade elegance for robustness." "Elegant things still break," he replied. Ask me how I know. For the first time that night, she really looked at him, not just at the way he held a marker like it belonged in his hand, but at the exhaustion under his eyes, the faint, permanent tightness in his shoulders, the way his phone sat on the table within arm's reach, screened down but never far. "Where did you work before this?" she asked. "Nowhere that would impress your investors," he said. "Before that, I used to be useful." Something in the way he said it, flat, matter-of-fact, without self-pity, landed harder than any appeal could have. Claire stepped closer to the board. "You're right about the loss points," she said. "We've been chasing it for weeks and didn't see it." He shrugged, almost apologetic. "Sometimes you don't see the thing you're looking for because you're too close to it, or you're not looking from the angle where it hurts." Silence stretched, filled only by the faint hum of the building. "What's your name?" she asked. "Noah. Bennett. You have a resume, Mr. Bennett?" "I used to," he said. Then it started to feel like fiction. "Find it," she said. "Update it. You're going to fix my transition problem?" He blinked. "As what? As an engineer?" Claire said. "Effective when you show up." He stared at her, searching for the catch. "You haven't even checked my references." Her mouth twitched, the ghost of a smile. "I just watched you debug a system we've spent 3 months stuck on while on a janitorial shift, with half the equations erased. That's a reference." His phone buzzed on the table. He flinched, hand snapping toward it before he'd finished the motion. "Go ahead," she said. He turned it over, already tense. This time it was only a pharmacy reminder. His shoulders slumped with relief, so visible it bordered on painful. 10, she repeated. Softer. "Don't be late," he nodded. "Yes, ma'am." As he left with the mop and bucket, Claire stood alone in the glass room, staring at the crooked arc he'd drawn through her carefully modeled world. For the first time in a long time, the numbers on the board felt less like a burden and more like a door. She uncapped the marker again and drew a small, deliberate check mark beside his revised curve. For once, she allowed herself to feel it fully. Not relief, not victory, just the quiet, unfamiliar sensation of hope. Chapter 3. Fault Lines. The promotion came with a badge that felt more like a dare than an honor. Noah Bennett, R&D, Power Systems. His hands shook when he pinned it on. "Do I have to call you sir now?" Emma asked, wrinkling her nose as he adjusted his collar. "No," he said, "but you do have to finish your spelling words." She lay on the couch, science textbook open beside her, the familiar asthma compressor humming low on the coffee table, ever present, like a second heartbeat in their home. He lay Emma's inhaler beside the lunch he'd packed. "I'll be back before bedtime. Claire, my boss, she knows about your asthma now. I gave her the emergency numbers, and the school nurse has them too." "You told your boss about me?" Emma asked, half wary, half curious. "She kind of forced me to," he said. "She notices things. Is she scary?" He thought of the way Claire's eyes sliced through excuses, the way people moved out of her path in the hall. "A little," he said, "but she's fair, and she helped me. A lot." Emma studied him with a seriousness too old for her years. "Okay. Then I'm glad she's your boss." He discovered what working for Claire Whitmore really meant on his second day as an engineer. She didn't ease him in. By 10:15 he was in a lab full of strangers staring at him like an answer on a test they hadn't studied for. Claire stood at the head of the table, tablet in hand, her voice steady and clipped. "This is Noah Bennett," she said. "He's joining Power Systems. He's the reason we're not still wasting 3% of our recovery window." A few eyebrows shot up. "He's a mid-level hire," someone muttered under their breath. "He's my hire," Claire said without looking up. The room went quiet. That will be sufficient. She assigned him to validation and failure analysis, then spent the next hour grilling him with the same ruthless fairness she used on her most senior staff. It wasn't cruelty, it was pressure, applied exactly where it exposed weakness and potential. By evening, his brain throbbed, his notebook full, his notes rough but clear. On his way out, Claire stopped him in the hall. "What's Emma's pediatrician's name?" she asked, as if inquiring about a supplier. He blinked. "Dr. Patel," he said slowly. "Why?" "Because your phone lives in your hand," she replied. "And because asthma doesn't care about work hours. I prefer to plan around reality." He stared. "You want my daughter's doctor's number for scheduling," Claire said. "And for liability. If you leave mid-test, I'd rather say his daughter had a documented medical emergency than he ran out and I don't know why." He exhaled slowly. "You're planning for me to fail you." I'm planning for you to be a father, she corrected. Text me the number and the schools. Why do you care? The question slipped out before he could pull it back. She held his gaze for a beat. Because I'd rather build systems that account for being human than punish people for it. Then, more quietly, I've seen what happens when we pretend we don't have bodies. Her eyes flicked, just once, toward the high windows, as if it's some invisible memory. Then the shutter slid back into place. Go home, Bennett. You look like you're about to drop a decimal and sink my company. The first real crack appeared a week later. He was in the middle of a run, data streaming, team watching, and a senior VP on the observation deck when his phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times. He kept his eyes on the torque curve. 20 more seconds and they'd clear the critical band. Hold his hand twitched toward his pocket, then froze. He forced his gaze to stay on the monitor. Stability looks good, someone said. The phone buzzed again. The sound was soft, but it sliced straight through his ribs. Come on, he whispered to the data. Just. His screen flashed a small notification in the corner, mirrored from his phone. School nurse, urgent. His stomach dropped. I have to stop the run, he said, already stepping back. No, the VP snapped into the intercom. We're green. Ride it out. We need this validation. The room went still. Noah's fingers hovered over the emergency stop. His phone buzzed again. The world narrowed to that one insistent vibration and the memory of Emma's text from the diner. Dad, I can't breathe. He hit the kill switch. The test rig wound down a complaining whine. Graphs froze mid-curve. What the hell are you doing? The VP barked through the speaker. Do you have any idea what that run cost us? Noah's hands shook as he pulled out his phone. My daughter's school is calling. I'm not missing it. You can call them back when... Out. Claire's voice cut cleanly over his. The VP fell silent. Everyone out. Now. The team hesitated. She didn't raise her voice. That wasn't a suggestion, she added. They filed out. The VP lingered at the glass. Claire, this is exactly... Leave, she said, eyes never leaving Noah. We'll discuss procedure later. When the door shut, the lab felt suddenly too big. Noah put the phone to his ear with numb fingers. This is Noah Bennett. Mr. Bennett, it's the school nurse, came the strained voice. Emma had an asthma attack during recess. We administered her rescue inhaler, but her sats are low and she's frightened. We've called an ambulance. He closed his eyes. I'm on my way. He hung up, already yanking off his badge lanyard. I have to, I heard Claire said. Go. He stopped. You're not going to dock your pay? Write you up? Fire you? Her voice was level, but her jaw was tight. Your kid's in an ambulance, Bennett. If you're still standing here in 10 seconds, then I've hired the wrong man. He swallowed hard. Thank you. Text me when you get there, she said. And when you know what they're saying. He hesitated. Why? Because I need to know if I should be looking at short-term coverage or something longer. Her eyes softened a fraction. And because I asked you to work for me. That makes what happens to your family my business whether I like it or not. He nodded once and ran. The hospital air was too bright, too cold, too clean. He found Emma in a curtained-off bay, small and pale against the white sheets, a plastic mask cupped over her face, eyes huge and wet. Hey, Bug, he said, voice breaking halfway through. Dad, she rasped. It hurt. I know. I'm here now. He cupped her head, pressing his forehead to hers, counting her breaths out of habit. In, out. Thin, but steadier than last time. Dr. Patel appeared at the foot of the bed, chart in hand. You cut it close this time, she said quietly. How bad? Noah asked. We stabilized her quickly, Patel said. Nebulizer, steroids. She'll be okay, but her baseline's slipping. We'll need to adjust meds, and the school needs a better action plan. Emma's eyes slid from the doctor to her father. Did I make you get in trouble? He felt his throat close. You will never make me get in trouble, he said. You're the only thing that matters. Her fingers curled weakly around his. Even more than the car? He huffed out a broken half laugh. You remember that? Mum's car, she said. You and Uncle Daniel were going to make it fly. It was just supposed to go fast, he said. Flying would have been extra. It can wait, she whispered. I can't. He pressed his lips to her knuckles. It always waits for you. A soft chime from his phone. He glanced down. Claire. Status. He typed with his free hand. He pressed his lips to her knuckles. It always waits for you. A soft chime from his phone. He glanced down. Claire. Status. He typed with his free hand. Noah. Ear. Stable now. Asthma attack at recess. They're adjusting meds. I'll be out the rest of the day. Her reply came almost immediately. CLA. Stay. I'll have HR update your file with medical leave. We'll cover your tasks. What hospital? He told her. After a pause, CLAR. Does she like puzzles or drawing? The question was so unexpected he reread it twice. Noah. Drawing. Space stuff. Dinosaurs with rockets. Claire. Noted. He set the phone aside and focused on Emma, on the beeps and the shallow rise and fall of her chest. Time blurred. He was humming under his breath when the curtain rustled and pulled aside. Mr. Bennett? A nurse asked. There's someone here for you. She says she's your employer. He nodded warily. Send her in. Claire stepped through the gap in the curtain, out of place in her sharp suit amid the pastel privacy screens and scuffed linoleum. She held a paper bag in one hand and a flat, wrapped rectangle in the other. Noah stood, suddenly aware of the dark circles under his eyes, the creases in his shirt. You didn't have to, I know, she said. I came anyway. Her eyes went immediately to Emma. She took in the cannula, the IV line, the too large hospital bracelet, and something in her face flinched, so quick most people would have missed it. Noah didn't. Emma, he said gently, this is Claire, my boss. Emma tried to push herself up on her elbows. The movement set off a cough. Noah steadied her. You don't not have to sit up for me, Claire said. Her voice, usually edged in steel, came out unexpectedly soft. I work for your dad, in a way. Emma blinked at her through the mask. You're fancy, she wheezed. A corner of Claire's mouth lifted. That's one word for it. She held up the paper bag. I brought contraband. Noah frowned. Please tell me that's not colored pencils, she said. And sketch pads. Hospital crayons are terrible. She set the bag on the rolling tray and unwrapped the flat rectangle, a thin, spiral-bound pad with black pages and a set of metallic gel pens taped to it. For your space dinosaurs, she said, suddenly uncertain. They look better when the stars shine. Emma's eyes widened, the fear in them briefly eclipsed by wonder. It's like the galaxy. Claire glanced at Noah. Is it acceptable to bribe your child while she's on oxygen? His throat was tight. In this context, strongly encouraged. Emma tugged the mask down for a second. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet, Claire said. I'm going to make your dad bring you to see the lab one day. Strictly educational. No touching anything that explodes. Emma's eyes lit. You make things that explode? Not on purpose, Claire replied. But they make loud noises before they behave. Emma's small laugh rattled but true. Noah had to look away for a second. Dr. Patel slipped in, nodding politely at Claire. You must be the employer, she said. We spoke on the phone earlier. We did, Claire said. Thank you for walking me through Emma's chart. I added the new action plan to the file I sent HR. School will need a copy too. Noah frowned. You called Dr. Patel? I told you I prefer planning around reality, Claire said. The nurse emailed me their incident report. It was insufficient, Patel snorted softly. For once, I'm glad a corporate person stuck their nose into my world, Dr. Patel said. Emma's going to need more flexibility than most employers like. Claire's jaw worked once, like she was grinding down a familiar reflex. She's not my employee, she said. She's the reason I don't drive mine into the ground. Patel studied her for a beat, then nodded. Good, keep it that way. When Patel left, Claire stepped back toward the curtain. I should let you two rest, she said. You drove all the way here, Noah said. You don't have to run right back. I didn't drive, she said. I had my car dropped off and walked from the garage. The ER parking lot is a circle of hell I refuse to enter. Same, Noah said. Emma tugged at his sleeve. Can she stay? Claire's gaze flicked to Emma, startled. You don't have to, Noah said quickly. She's on meds. I'm not talking to you, Emma mumbled through the mask. I'm talking to her. Claire went still, as if someone had set a prototype on knife edge. For a second, Noah saw the instinctive refusal in her. Boundaries, distance, control, then watched her swallow it down. I can stay for a bit, she said. She took the single plastic chair. For a while, no one spoke. The only sounds were the soft wheeze of Emma's breathing and the steady beeping from the monitor. "Do you have kids?" Emma asked suddenly. "No," Claire said. "I have employees. They're louder and eat more snacks." Emma's eyes crinkled. "You sound like my principal," Emma said. "She sighs a lot." Claire huffed a quiet laugh. "So do my board members." "And my dad," Emma added. "Your dad," Claire said, "has reason to sigh." Noah watched them, the edges of something unfamiliar pressing against his ribs. It felt like a door, opening. They fell into a rhythm after that. Claire didn't become family overnight. She didn't start showing up with casseroles or sitting on the couch in sweatpants. That wasn't who she was. Instead, she began to appear at the edges of Emma's life the way she appeared at the edges of any problem she meant to solve. Prepared, precise, and unwilling to pretend it didn't exist. She attended the next school meeting in a slate gray suit, tablet in hand. The principal's posture shifted subtly when he saw the company logo on her tablet case. "We're here to discuss Emma's health plan," Noah said, sitting forward in his chair. "Yes, of course," the principal replied. "Our nurse is very experienced, and we read the incident report," Claire cut in, not unkindly. Emma walked across half the playground in distress before an adult noticed. "That's not an action plan. That's chance." The nurse bristled. We responded as quickly as, "No blame," Claire said. "Just systems. I build those for a living. Right now yours relies too heavily on luck and a single overworked nurse." The nurse hesitated, then sighed. "She's not wrong." Noah watched, half anxious and half stunned, as Claire pulled up a document. "We're proposing a 504 plan," she said. "Here are the accommodations Dr. Patel signed off on. Inhaler access in the classroom, staff training on rescue protocol, and a clear threshold for when to call ENS and when to call Mr. Bennett. I've already drafted the forms for district approval." The principal cleared his throat. "This is thorough." "It's legally standard," Claire said. "Thorough would include paid time for staff training and backup coverage. We can't fix that from here, but we can make sure Emma is never alone when she can't breathe." Silence. Then the nurse nodded slowly. "I'll schedule a training, after hours, if I have to. I don't want to see that look on her face again." Noah swallowed hard. "Thank you." The principal glanced between Claire and Noah. "We'll implement the plan," he said. "You have my word." Outside in the parking lot, Noah leaned against his car and let out a long breath. "You didn't have to do that," he said. Claire adjusted the strap of her bag. "I don't do have to, Bennett. I do works." He smiled faintly. "You were softer in there than I expected." "I said please twice," she replied. "I'm evolving." He studied her. "You really don't like people knowing you care, do you?" Her expression flickered, a tiny crack in polished glass. "Caring is easy," she said. "Losing is expensive." He heard the hesitance under the word. "Who'd you lose?" he asked quietly. For a heartbeat, she looked like she might walk away. Instead, she stared past him, out over the rows of cars. "My sister," she said. "Asthma. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong people paying attention to the wrong things. I was in a meeting." She exhaled slowly. "I learned, very quickly, what happens when everyone assumes someone else will notice." Noah's chest tightened. "Clear. I'm sorry." She gave a small, brittle shrug. "So, now I build systems that notice. And I don't hire people I plan to break just to prove a point." He watched her, the cold executive edges of her finally making brutal sense. "That's why you pushed me out of the lab," he said slowly. "At the test." "I watched you almost stay," she replied. "I've seen that before too." He thought of Lena. How many evenings they both just finished this one thing while Emma's nebulizer chirped from the next room. "You weren't always like this," he said. "No one starts this way. A beat. But people don't usually ask me when it happened. I get tired of people not asking," he said quietly. For the first time, she didn't deflect. Hospital hallway, plastic chairs, my father asking me why I didn't leave the meeting sooner. The answer was, because I wasn't supposed to. She met his eyes. "You left. That matters." He swallowed. "Thank you. For backing me up." "Don't thank me," she said. "Just keep leaving when she needs you. I'll build around it." Chapter 4. The Car. The tarp had become part of the garage. For years it hunched in the corner like a secret he wasn't ready to uncover. Dust thick, paint cans stacked nearby. An old bicycle leaned against one fender as if the metal underneath had no history. On a Saturday when Emma's new meds had finally settled, and her peak flow numbers stopped scaring him, Noah stared at the lumpy shape and realized the fear he felt now wasn't grief, it was distance. Time. How far he was from the man who started it. He dialed Daniel. "You still remember which end of a torque wrench to hold?" he asked. Bold talk from the guy who disappeared off the grid for 5 years, Daniel shot back. "You finally ready to finish Lena's monster?" Noah looked at the tarp. "If I don't try now, I never will." "I'll be there in an hour," Daniel said. "You still take your coffee like bad motor oil?" "Cheaper that way," Noah said, smiling in spite of himself. Pulling the tarp off felt like exhuming a life. The unfinished car, Lena's wild, uncompromising vision, sat hunched on jack stands, primer gray under dust. Half the wiring harness dangled like exposed nooses. The custom flywheel casing he'd machined years ago stared back at him, accusing and patient. Daniel whistled low. "She's still mean. She's still impossible," Noah corrected. "Same thing," Daniel grinned. "Let's wake her up." They started small. Inventory. What had to be replaced? What could be salvaged? What Lena had overbuilt for the hell of it? Relief spread through Noah with each component that still specced out, each bracket that hadn't rusted through. He'd done good work, so had she. Emma appeared in the doorway, wearing Noah's 2 big safety glasses. "Can I help?" she asked. "Watch your air first," Noah said automatically, checking the little pulse ox clipped to her finger. "Good. Steady." "I'm fine," she said. "I want to see Mom's car." Daniel wiped his hands. "You must be Emma. I'm the guy your dad used to cheat off in college." Emma's eyebrows shot up. "Dad cheated? On homework?" Daniel clarified. "Not on your mom. She would have turned him into a hood ornament." Anna giggled, then turned serious as she approached the car. Her hand hovered over the fender, not quite touching. "She looks sad," Emma murmured. "She's waiting," Noah said. "For who?" "For us," he replied. "Want to help me stop making her wait?" Emma nodded. They gave her the light tasks, handing tools, labeling bins, drawing her own wild upgrades in a notebook, solar wings, starlight paint, an air filter that never breaks. By the time the sun dipped low, dust motes swimming in the amber light. Noah's back ached, his hands were greasy, and his heart felt looser, less armored. On one day, he was late. A traffic jam, a last-minute inhaler check, a forgotten lunch. By the time Noah jogged through Whitmore's lobby, it was 20 minutes past his start. Claire was waiting by the lab door, tablet in hand. "You're late," she said. Emma's monitor alarmed. "False reading," he said, still catching his breath. I don't need the autopsy," she cut in. "Just the current status. She's fine. At school. I checked twice." Claire nodded once. "Then next time, text me. Not the generic line." "The VP tried to start the test without you." "Did you?" he asked. "No," she said. "He can turn keys. He can't hear the machine yet." He blinked. "You waited. You're the one who knows where it hurts," she said simply. "Don't make me defend that choice to the board more often than necessary." He swallowed. "We were working on the car this weekend," he said before he could stop himself. "The one I told you about. Emma calls it Mom's car." Claire's gaze flicked up from her tablet. "You uncovered it." Daniel came over, he said. "We're trying." It felt like he searched for the word, like stealing something back. Something softened in her eyes. "Good. Don't let grief keep what she built." He hesitated. "Emma wants to see the lab someday. You mentioned it. I don't want to impose." "You're not imposing," Claire said. "You're reminding me why this place exists." A beat. "Bring her Saturday. No machines running, minimum particulates. I'll clear it with EHS. You'll come in on a Saturday?" he asked. "I own the building, Bennett," she said wryly. "I practically live here." The lab was different at rest. No scream of metal, no ozone tang from overtaxed circuits. Just quiet and light and the faint echo of everything that usually happened there. Emma walked in slowly, hand in Noah's, eyes wide. Her portable monitor chimed a steady, approving green. "It smells like new things," she whispered. "That's one way to put it," Claire said from behind them. She wasn't in a suit today. Dark jeans, a soft gray sweater, hair pulled back. It made her look younger, less carved. Seeing her outside her armor felt almost intimate. Emma stared. "You look different." Less terrifying? Claire asked. A little, Emma said. I'll try not to take that personally. Claire walked them through the lab like she was narrating a story. She showed Emma the rig, quiet, harmless now, and the mock-ups, the test benches. We make mistakes here, she said, resting a hand on a battered housing, loud ones. Then we learn from them. Emma traced a scar on the metal with one finger. Did you get scared when that happened? I got angry, Claire said. Then I got careful. Fear is only useful if you let it change you for the better. Emma nodded solemnly, as if filing it away. They ended up by the prototype car, gleaming under its shroud of dust covers. Claire lifted a corner so Emma could see the contour of the vendor, the suggestion of the wheel. This one doesn't belong to anyone yet, Claire said. Not the way your mom's car does. We're still learning what it wants to be. Emma squinted. Dad says cars don't want anything. Your dad? Claire replied. Talks to machines more than most people. I wouldn't trust him on that. Emma laughed, then caught her breath. Noah's hand tightened on hers automatically. Claire's eyes flicked to the monitor. Still green. She relaxed almost imperceptibly. You're watching it too, Noah said quietly. Of course I am, she answered, as if it were obvious. I don't intend to repeat history just to prove I've moved on. The weeks that followed were a slow weaving together. She started scheduling key tests around Emma's predictable flare windows, spring mornings, cold snaps, high pollen days, without ever calling attention to it in meetings. The calendar simply shifted, as if the machine itself respected Emma's lungs. She checked the school alerts as reliably as she checked market reports. If a district-wide email mentioned an air quality warning, a note appeared on Noah's desk by 9 a.m., mask for recess. Consider pickup. At first, Noah didn't say anything. Gratitude felt too small a word, intrusion felt too harsh. But the night he found her alone in the lab, lights dim, eyes fixed not on a graph, but on Emma's latest drawing pinned to the board, a lopsided dinosaur, with a rocket strapped to its back and W.H. Whitmore scrawled down the side. He finally spoke. You know, he said, most CEOs don't let 8-year-olds redesign their company's logo. Claire didn't turn immediately. Most CEOs, she said, don't have their failure modes drawn in glitter pen and taped above the main brake assembly. He came to stand beside her. The drawing was chaos, stars, engines, Chapter 5, the work that counts. Claire didn't turn immediately. Most CEOs, she said, don't have their failure modes drawn in glitter pen and taped above the main brake assembly. Noah came to stand beside her. The drawing was chaos, engines, a dinosaur with a brave, crooked grin. In the corner, Emma had written in careful block letters, "Don't forget to breathe." It hit him harder than it should have. Her handwriting's getting better, he managed. It's study, Claire said. Her voice was neutral, but her fingers hovered near the paper like she wanted to straighten it and didn't trust herself to. She's diligent. Noah watched the way Claire's eyes lingered on the kid's drawing, how she read it the way she read data, as if it could warn her of disaster, as if it could teach her how to prevent one. You keep looking at it like it's a status report, he said quietly. It is, Claire replied. Then, after a beat, like she was annoyed her own honesty escaped, it's proof she's here. Noah swallowed. That's what I do. Claire's jaw tightened, an old reflex, that retreat back into precision and control. She didn't take it. She stayed. Your daughter, she said, has an inconvenient habit of making everything real. Noah let out a small laugh that wasn't really a laugh. Yeah, she gets that from her mom. For the first time, Claire asked, Tell me about her. Noah blinked. Lena? Claire nodded once, as if it cost her nothing. But Noah saw the cost. She was loud, he said, smiling despite the ache that rose with the memory. Not in volume, in presence. She'd walk into a room and it felt like the air had a different opinion. She hated anything that was half committed. If you were going to do something, you did it all the way, or you didn't do it at all. Claire's mouth twitched. That sounds exhausting. It was, Noah said, and then softer, and it was beautiful. Silence settled between them. The lab hummed. A distant elevator pinged like a heart monitor. Claire's gaze dropped to the drawing again. I'm not good at what? Noah thought. Comfort? People? Loving something without turning it into a problem you can solve? but she didn't finish. She just reached up and matched the paper straighter. A small, careful act. A confession. Noah didn't thank her. He learned she hated gratitude when it sounded like a debt. Instead, he said, "Emma has a pulmonology follow-up tomorrow. The school wants an update for the 504 file." Claire's eyes flicked up. "Do you need me there?" The question was so direct it knocked the air out of his lungs. He hesitated, then decided to be brave in the way she'd taught him to be. "Yes, if you can." Claire nodded. "Send me the time." She paused, then added, almost like an afterthought, "And Noah?" He looked at her. "If the doctor says something you don't understand," she said, voice steady, "I'll ask until they explain it. I don't care if I look difficult." Noah's throat went thick. "You don't ever worry about looking difficult." "I worry," she said, and her eyes softened just a fraction, "about you trying to carry it alone." Chapter 6. The Appointments. The pediatric pulmonology clinic smelled like hand sanitizer and waiting room despair. Emma sat between them, with her sketchpad in her lap, drawing a dinosaur in a spacesuit. The metallic gel pen gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Claire sat with her back straight, coat folded over her knees like armor neatly removed. Noah kept expecting her to check her phone, to drift mentally back to the lab, to the world where she could control outcomes with enough force. She didn't. Emma swung her feet, then leaned toward Claire and whispered, "Do you have to go to work after this?" Claire looked at her. "Not if you don't want me to." Emma blinked. "I didn't know grown-ups could do that." Claire's face did something unfamiliar. Softened, almost startled. Most of them forget they can. When Dr. Patel came in, she glanced at the trio and raised an eyebrow. "Well," she said dryly, "this is an intimidating delegation." "I'm here for note-taking," Claire replied. "And for questions." Patel's gaze flicked to Noah. "Good, because Emma's asthma is changing." Noah's stomach dropped. Emma's fingers tightened around her pen. Patel continued, gentle but firm. "Her baseline has been lower. She's responding to rescue medication, but she's needing it more often. We're going to adjust her controller medication and add a spacer protocol at school. I also want to schedule a respiratory therapist to train staff." Noah nodded, trying to keep his face calm while his inside screamed, "Not again. Not worse. Please not worse." Claire leaned forward. "What triggers are you seeing most?" "Cold air." "Activity." "Allergens," Patel said. "But stress can exacerbate symptoms too." Noah flinched at that, because he knew how much Emma held in, how much she tried to be easy since her mom died. Claire noticed the flinch. "Okay," she said to Patel. "Then we reduce triggers we can control. You said training staff. What exactly are they required to do, and what should they do even if it isn't required?" Patel's mouth quirked. "You'd make a great hospital administrator." "I'd be terrible," Claire replied. "I'd fire everyone who said that's not my job, when a child can't breathe." Emma's eyes went wide. Noah stared at Claire, something in his chest cracking open. "You don't have to." "Yes," Claire cut in, sharp enough to stop him, but not cruel. "I do." Then her voice lowered, and for the first time she said it like it was personal, not procedural. "I know what wrong place, wrong time costs." The room went still. Patel's expression softened. She didn't press, she simply nodded. "Then we'll do this right." After the appointment, in the hallway, Noah braced a hand on the wall. The fluorescent lights made everything feel unreal. Claire stood beside him. She didn't touch him, not yet. She hovered, like she was respecting an invisible line he hadn't drawn but she'd noticed anyway. "You're quiet," she said. "I'm scared," he admitted. Claire's eyes tightened. "Good." He blinked. "Not good that you're scared," she clarified. "Good that you said it out loud. When people don't say it, they do something stupid, like pretend they can outwork biology." Noah gave a shaky, broken laugh. "That sounds familiar." Claire's gaze flicked away. "I have experience." Emma came out of the bathroom then, looking small in the too bright hallway. She walked straight to Claire and slipped her hand into hers like it was the most natural thing in the world. Claire froze. Noah froze too. Claire looked down at Emma's hand on hers. Then, so carefully Noah almost missed it, she curled her fingers back. Emma beamed. "Can we get smoothies?" Claire exhaled, like she'd been holding her breath for years. "Yes," she said. "We can get smoothies." Noah watched them walk ahead, Emma chattering, Claire listening with a seriousness that made it feel sacred, and something in him loosened. For the first time since Lena died, Noah could picture a future without immediately flinching away from it. Chapter 7. The Garage. The project car didn't feel like a tomb anymore. It felt like a stubborn animal that had finally accepted hands on its back again. Saturday mornings became ritual. Coffee that tasted like regret. Daniel's loud entrance, the radio playing something too upbeat for Noah's mood, and Emma perched on a stool with her sketch pad, supervising. "You're torquing that wrong," Daniel announced, leaning over Noah's shoulder. Noah didn't look up. "You're breathing wrong." Daniel slapped a hand to his chest. "Rude." "I breathe excellent." Emma giggled, then coughed once, just once. Noah's head snapped up instantly. "I'm okay," she said, already holding up her inhaler like a peace treaty. "Just dust." Noah reached for the shop fan, angled it away, and opened the garage door wider. Daniel wordlessly swapped in a fresh filter on the shop vac, the kind of small accommodation that said, "I see her. I'm paying attention. I'm with you." Claire showed up the third Saturday without warning. Not in a suit. In jeans and a dark coat, hair pulled back, hands in her pockets like she wasn't sure where to put them. In a place so human. She stood at the threshold of the garage like it might bite. Noah wiped his hands on a rag and stared. "What are you doing here?" Claire's eyes flicked over the car, the scattered tools, the grease, the living mess of it all. "Emma invited me." Emma popped her head up from behind the workbench. "I did." "I told her we were making Mom's car alive again." Claire's throat bobbed. She used that exact wording. Daniel whistled low. "Okay, I like the kid." Claire's gaze landed on Daniel. "You must be Daniel Reyes," Daniel grinned. "And you must be the terrifying CEO who stole Noah from the mop bucket." "I didn't steal him," Claire said evenly. "He was misallocated." Daniel laughed like that was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. "She talks like a robot, Noah." Claire's eyes narrowed. "I talk like an adult who doesn't enjoy wasting syllables." Emma whispered loudly to Noah, "I like her." Noah couldn't help it. He smiled. Claire stepped closer to the car, slow. Noah watched her face, how she read the frame, the mounting points, the half-finished harness. She wasn't just looking, she was respecting it. "This is ambitious," Claire said. "That's what Lena said," Noah replied. Then she made it worse. A long beat. Claire glanced at him. "You kept it." Noah's chest tightened. "I couldn't throw it away." Claire nodded once, like she understood too well. Sometimes keeping something isn't refusal. It's waiting until you're strong enough to touch it again. Daniel cleared his throat. "Okay, wow, I didn't come here to cry into a carburetor." And I handed Claire a pair of safety glasses. "You have to wear these if you're in the garage." Claire took them like they were a fragile offering. "Understood." She put them on. The CEO of a company worth millions stood in Noah's garage wearing child-sized safety glasses, looking slightly ridiculous and completely sincere. Noah's vision blurred. He turned away under the excuse of reaching for a wrench. Chapter 8. Flashpoint. It happened on a night that was supposed to be clean. A controlled run. A quiet validation. One more dataset to calm investors and put a bow on months of rebuilding. The lab was lit like an operating room. White, sterile, merciless. Every surface scrubbed. Every cable routed. Every human told where to stand and when to breathe. Noah stood at the console with Daniel at his shoulder, fingers hovering above the controls as if the machine could feel anxiety through skin. Claire watched from the observation deck behind the glass, arms folded, posture perfect. If anyone else looked at her, they'd call it calm. Noah knew better now. Her eyes weren't calm. They were fixed, tight on the rig, tight on him, tight on every variable she couldn't fully command. The VP of Engineering, Grant Halvorsen, was there too. He'd insisted. Board visibility, he'd called it, with a kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You good?" Daniel murmured. Noah nodded once. "I'm hearing a whine in the coupling." "You always hear a whine in the coupling," Daniel said, trying to lighten it. Noah didn't smile. He stared at the live feed. Torque curve rising. Thermal steady. Phase transition approaching. Beginning cycle, he announced. The rig spun up, smooth at first, beautiful, almost. The hybrid powertrain they'd rebuilt after sabotage had been meant to prove Whitmore wasn't fragile, that the company could take a hit and still deliver. The machine sang, low and confident, like a promise. Grant leaned into the intercom, let it run through the full window. No interruptions this time. Noah didn't answer. His eyes snagged on something. A glitch. A tiny flicker in the readout that shouldn't have existed. His stomach tightened. "Phase delay is off," he said, more to himself than anyone. Daniel frowned. "What?" Noah's fingers moved. He pulled up the deeper telemetry, the control logic. It wasn't their logic. His mouth went dry. That's not our transition curve. On the observation deck, Claire straightened. Not much. Just enough that Noah felt it in his bones. He looked up at her through the glass. Claire's lips parted, like she'd say his name. Grant's voice cut in, sharp. Bennett, don't touch anything. We need this run. Noah's heart began to hammer. He heard Emma's laugh in his head, thin and bright. He saw her small fingers gripping a pencil, her oxygen mask, her frightened eyes. He heard Lena's voice too. Don't compromise just to keep someone comfortable. Shut it down, Noah said, voice tight. Grant slammed a palm on the console beside him. You will not. Noah hit the emergency aboard. Nothing happened. A cold wave washed through Noah. He stabbed the command again. The rig didn't slow. Ord is locked out, Daniel breathed, suddenly pale. Noah. Noah's hands flew across the interface, trying to override. Error messages stacked like tombstones. Somebody had rewritten permissions. Somebody had taken away the one button meant to save lives. Noah's gaze snapped to Grant. Grant's face was still, controlled, almost pleased. Claire's voice came through the intercom like a blade. Everyone step back, now. Too late. The powertrain screamed, a sudden violent pitch that made teeth ache, a whiplash of pressure. Heat spiked. Then the world tore open. The explosion wasn't Hollywood. It was physics. It was metal failing at the speed of betrayal. The blast punched through the housing, threw a wave of fire and debris across the bay. Alarm shrieked. The lights stuttered. Something shattered against the glass. Smoke rolled like a living thing. Noah hit the floor hard, ears ringing, the taste of copper in his mouth. He blinked through ash and sparks, vision swimming. Daniel, he shouted. A hand grabbed his shoulder. Daniel, coughing, eyes wide but alive. I'm here, are you? Get out. Noah coughed. He pushed Daniel toward the exit. On the observation deck above, Claire was already moving. She didn't hesitate. She didn't freeze. She didn't wait for security. She ran. Noah saw her through the smoke. Claire Whitmore, the woman who ruled boardrooms with silence, clambering down a service stairwell in heels she kicked off halfway, hair coming loose like she'd torn herself out of her own restraint. She hit the lab floor and slammed into him, grabbing his jacket, pulling him away from the smoking rig with a strength that was pure terror. You're bleeding, she snapped. I'm fine, Noah tried. Don't lie to me, she hissed, eyes bright with something raw. Not about this. He touched his forehead. His fingers came away red. Claire's hand cupped his cheek, abrupt and shaking, tilting his face toward the light like she could will him intact. Her thumb brushed his skin, careful despite her panic. Claire. Her jaw clenched. If you say you're fine again, I will personally drag you to the ER and then fire you for incompetence. Noah coughed a laugh that cracked into a sob. That's not comforting. It's accurate, she said, voice breaking around the edges. Behind them, Grant was shouting at someone, ordering, controlling, performing outrage like theater. Claire's eyes snapped to him. The warmth vanished from her face. The cold returned, but it was different now, not calculating, protective. She stood and walked toward Grant with the same inevitability as a storm. I told you, Grant was barking. Bennett disobeyed, Claire's voice cut through him. You'll lock down emergency abort. Grant blinked. Excuse me? Claire held up her tablet, security logs already pulled, her fingers moving fast, ruthless. Override permissions changed 10 minutes before the run. Only one account had access. Grant's smile started to wobble. Claire, you're emotional. Someone could have. You did, Claire said, flat as iron. For a second, nobody breathed. Then Grant's eyes hardened. You're going to accuse your VP in front of witnesses? Claire stepped closer. You sabotaged my lab to make my hire look reckless. You risk lives for your ego. Grant leaned in, voice low. You've been embarrassing this company with your sentimentality. A janitor turned engineer, a sick kid dictating schedules. The board is tired, investors are tired, and they're not here for your family fantasy. Noah went still. Claire did too. But something in her shifted, not cracked, not shattered, opened. You don't get to speak about my people like our liabilities, Claire said softly. Grant scoffed. You think investors care about your heart? They care about a demo. They care about contracts. You just lost the only prototype we had ready. Claire stared at the smoldering ruin behind him. Her throat worked once. Then she turned and walked back to Noah, kneeled beside him again, took his hand, and said, so quietly he almost didn't hear it, "Then we'll build another." Noah's eyes burned. Claire. She squeezed hard. Not the companies, not the boards. Her gaze flicked to the garage key on his ring. Lena's old tag still there, faded. "Yours," she whispered. "Hers," Noah swallowed. "Lena's car isn't finished," Claire said. "I know. That's why we finish it." Daniel coughed, wiping soot from his mouth. "In what, 2 weeks?" Claire's eyes lifted, sharp with a new kind of clarity. 12 days. Noah stared. "That's impossible." Claire smiled, and it wasn't cold. It was fierce. "Then we do impossible," she said. "Together." Chapter 9. The Deadline. The next morning, the board called an emergency meeting. The lab was sealed, investigations started, lawyers circled like vultures. Grant Halvorsen was escorted out of the building with a box in his arms and a look of pure hatred on his face. Claire didn't watch him leave. She sat at the head of the conference table, shoulder squared, and took every accusation the board threw like she was built to absorb impact. "This will ruin us," one director snapped. "Our demo is in less than 2 weeks." Claire's voice was steady. "Our prototype was sabotaged. We have evidence. We will prosecute." "That doesn't win contracts," another spat. "We need a working powertrain demonstration." Claire's eyes flicked to Noah. Noah felt it, her question without words. "Can you do it? Can we?" He thought of the tarp in the garage, the dust, the grief, the waiting. He thought of Emma's small hands on a hood that wasn't warm yet. "Yes," he said, voice rough. "We can." The board laughed, short, disbelieving. "You're proposing what? A garage build?" Someone scoffed. Claire didn't flinch. "I'm proposing we demonstrate a working hybrid powertrain using an existing chassis we control fully, without internal access vulnerabilities." Silence. Noah spoke carefully. "It's not a random project. It's a complete engineering concept with a partially built system. We can finish it, validate core functions, and demo the recovery window." The director narrowed their eyes. "And if you fail?" Claire's gaze turned ice calm. "Then I fail with them." Noah's chest tightened at with them. Not him, not the engineer, them. After the meeting, Claire caught Noah in the hallway. She looked tired in a way no amount of money could fix. Not sleepy, worn. "You're sure?" she asked. Noah swallowed. "No. I'm terrified." Claire's eyes softened. "Good. Me too." He let out a breath that shook. "What happens if we can't?" Claire stepped closer, voice low. "Then we lose contracts. The board votes. They cut me out. They cut you out. They call us reckless." Noah's throat closed. "And Emma?" Claire's mouth tightened at her name. "Emma keeps breathing," she said fiercely. "Even if I have to burn the building down and rebuild it around her." Noah stared at her. He had seen Claire in crisis before, sharp, commanding, unbreakable. He had never seen her speak like a woman who had decided she was done losing people. "Come to the garage tonight," Claire said. "Bring the schematics. Bring the parts list. Bring your courage." He almost laughed. "I don't have much courage." Claire's hand hovered near his arm, then, finally, landed. Just a brief touch, thumb pressing into his sleeve like an anchor. "Yes, you do," she said. "You just call it being a dad." Chapter 10. The garage becomes a world. The garage stopped being a place. It became a heartbeat. Daniel moved in like a force of nature. Tools, coffee, new wiring harnesses, a whiteboard propped against a shelf. Noah brought the old notebooks Lena had kept, her handwriting like a dare across every page. Claire arrived after work each night, rolling her sleeves up like she was stepping into a different life. Emma watched from her stool with her pulse ox clipped on and her new spacer in her backpack, homework spread out beside a small stack of approved snacks. "You're allowed to boss them," Claire told her one evening, handing her a printed checklist. "Your quality assurance." Emma's eyes went huge. Like, "I tell you what to do?" "Within reason," Claire said. Emma grinned, then immediately became serious, pencil poised like a weapon. Okay. First, everyone has to wash hands. Grease is gross. Daniel groaned. Noah laughed. Claire nodded solemnly. Compliance required. Somewhere between torque specs and soldering, between late-night runs to the parts store and mornings when the sun rose before they'd slept, Claire became a presence that didn't sit at the edge anymore. She packed Emma school lunches when Noah forgot. She highlighted Emma's reading passages while Noah chased a wiring issue. She learned the sound of Emma's breathing changing, the tiny tightening before a cough, the way Emma's shoulders lifted when she was anxious. Noah watched Claire kneel beside Emma one night as Emma struggled with math, frustration tightening her chest. Claire tapped the table gently. Breathe first. Emma sniffed. I hate fractions. I hate shareholders, Claire said. We do hard things anyway, Emma giggled, then paused, studying Claire like she was a puzzle. You're nicer now, Claire blinked. Am I? Emma nodded. You used to look like you were mad at the air. Noah choked on his coffee. Claire's mouth twitched. The air has disappointed me. Emma leaned forward, voice small. Do you get scared? Claire's face went very still. Noah held his breath. Then Claire said, very quietly, yes. Emma's eyes softened. Me too. Claire nodded once, as if that was a contract. Then we'll be scared together. Emma reached out and took Claire's hand, like she'd done in the hospital. Claire didn't freeze this time. She squeezed back immediately. Noah turned away fast, blinking hard, because grief and love lived too close together, and he could feel both. Later, when Emma fell asleep on the couch with her textbook open and a dinosaur drawn in the margins, Claire stood in the garage doorway, watching Noah tighten a mount. She looks like Lena, Claire said softly. Noah's hands stilled. Sometimes, he whispered. And sometimes, she looks like the part of me that didn't die when Lena did. Claire's throat worked. You talk about her like she's still in the room. She is, Noah said, in everything unfinished. Claire stepped closer. And in everything you're finishing. Noah finally looked up. The garage light caught Claire's eyes, tired, fierce, warm in a way she didn't know how to hide anymore. Why are you doing this? He asked, voice breaking. For the company, sure. But you could walk away from us. Claire's gaze flicked to Emma sleeping, then back to Noah. I could, she admitted. A beat. I don't want to, she said. Noah's chest folded inward like something finally giving up its fight. He set the wrench down. Claire. She stepped closer, almost trembling with the effort of choosing this without armor. I don't do this, she whispered. I don't need people. I don't. Noah reached for her hand. This time he didn't ask permission. He just held it, gentle and steady. You don't have to perform, he said softly. You can just be here. Claire's breath hitched, and then she leaned in and kissed him, not like a victory, not like a decision, like a surrender. Noah kissed her back like he'd been starving for something he didn't think he deserved. When they pulled apart, Claire rested her forehead against his. I'm terrified, she whispered. Noah laughed, shaky. Me too. Claire's fingers curled in his shirt. Then we do it anyway. Chapter 11. The demo. They finished Lena's car at 3:17 a.m. on the 11th day. It wasn't perfect. Lena would have scoffed at the rushed cable routing, the temporary panel, the weld they didn't have time to pretty up. But when Noah turned the key, the engine caught. The hybrid system hummed. The recovery window held. And the garage filled with sound that wasn't just mechanical. It was alive. Emma woke up on the couch at the noise, hair messy, eyes heavy. She stumbled into the garage and blinked at the car like it was a miracle. It's running, she whispered. Noah's voice cracked. Yeah, bug, it's running. Emma walked to the hood and placed her palm on it like she was touching her mother's hand through metal. Hi, Mom, she whispered. Claire stood behind her, one hand on Emma's shoulder, the other gripping Noah's so tight it almost hurt. Noah didn't mind. The day of the contract demo, the car sat under bright lights in Whitmore's main bay, polished and defiant. Reporters hovered. Investors circled. Executives watched like predators. Emma stood between Noah and Claire with her inhaler in her pocket and her action plan in her bag, like armor. Her pulse ox glowed steady green. Noah stepped up to the microphone. He almost saw Lena in the crowd, arms folded, smirking like she dared him to be brave. He looked at Emma instead, then at Claire. Then he spoke. He told them the truth, not the PR truth, the human truth. He talked about failure, about rebuilding, about a system designed to recover energy instead of wasting it, about a man who'd learned to do the same. When he finished, the room was quiet for a beat, and the car rolled forward under its own power, smooth, controlled, breathtaking. The recovery curve displayed live. The investors leaned in, and the contracts, those hungry, fragile things, began to tip in their favor. After, one of the biggest partners shook Claire's hand. "Incredible," he said. "How did you pull it off after the explosion?" Claire's gaze slid to Noah and Emma. She didn't even hesitate. "Family," she said. Noah's throat tightened. Emma beamed like she'd been crowned. Chapter 12. What They Become. The first time Emma called Claire my person, it happened on accident. A school open house, a crowded hallway. Someone bumped Emma's shoulder, and she startled, breath catching, anxiety flaring. Claire was instantly there, reeling, voice gentle. "Breathe with me," she murmured. Emma sucked in air, shaky. Claire tapped the rhythm on Emma's wrist. Again. Slower. Emma's breathing steadied. She looked up at Claire and said, without thinking, "I want my person." Claire froze. "Your person?" Emma nodded, like it was obvious. "You and Dad. But you're my girl person." Noah's eyes burned. Claire's didn't, at first. She blinked hard, like she was trying to keep herself contained. Then she said, "Horse, okay." And Emma hugged her. Claire hugged back like she'd been waiting her whole life for permission. That night, after Emma went to bed, Noah found Claire on the balcony, staring at the city like it might have answers. "You okay?" he asked. Claire's voice was thin. "I don't know how to do this." Noah stepped closer. "Do what?" "Be wanted," she whispered, "and not run." Noah's heart ached. "Then don't run." Claire turned, eyes shining. "I'm scared I'll fail you." Noah reached up and cupped her face. "You already didn't." He stayed. Claire's breath hitched. Noah sank to one knee before he could talk himself out of it. Right there, in the quiet, with the city watching like 1,000 indifferent stars. Claire's eyes widened, startled into stillness. "Noah," she breathed. He laughed through tears. "I know. It's cheesy. I don't have a ring yet." Claire made a strangled sound. "You're proposing without a ring?" "I'm proposing without a plan," he said, "because every plan I ever had died with Lena, and then you showed up and made new ones possible." Claire's mouth trembled. Noah swallowed. "I love you. I love Emma. I love the life we're building even when it's messy and scary and not optimized." Claire let out a shaky laugh that broke into a sob. "I can't promise I'll be soft," she whispered. Noah nodded. "Don't. Just promise you'll be here." Claire dropped to her knees in front of him like she couldn't stay upright. She pressed her forehead to his. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm not leaving." Then, very quietly, like she was speaking it into existence, "Yes." Epilogue. The vows they married in a small space, filled with warm light, and people who mattered. Daniel stood beside Noah, grinning like he'd won something. Emma walked down the aisle with a tiny inhaler tucked into a fancy dress pocket, and a bouquet that had little star-shaped charms tied into it. Claire looked at Noah like she was still surprised the world could give her this. When it was time for vows, Claire took Noah's hands. "Steady now, no tremble." "I used to believe love made you weak," she said, voice tight with emotion. "That it made you inefficient. That it made you vulnerable." She swallowed hard. "Then I met you," she whispered, "and I watched you choose your daughter again and again, even when it cost you, especially when it cost you." Noah's eyes filled. Claire's voice cracked. "You made me want to be the kind of person who stays. You made me want to build a life instead of just building systems." Emma sniffled loudly in the front row. Claire smiled at her, wet-eyed. "And you," she said softly, looking at Emma, "made me brave." Noah's vow was simpler, because he didn't have Claire's vocabulary for steel. "I thought my life ended," he said, "and then you walked into it and refused to let it stay broken." He exhaled. "I don't know what I did to deserve you," he whispered. but I'll spend the rest of my life earning you." When Claire kissed him, it wasn't careful. It was certain. And when Emma threw her arms around both of them after, squeezing like she could fuse them together permanently, Claire wrapped her arms around Emma with no hesitation at all, like this was what she'd been built for all along.